Hey girls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is going to be a reading vlog of two May arcs. Both of these books are fantasy books that come out right at the beginning of this month, and I am very interested in them and really excited to check them out. They're both very different ends of like the fantasy spectrum, so let's go ahead, talk about them, introduce them really quickly, and then get on with the vlog. The first book I'm going to be reading is Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame by Neon Yang. This one is with an armored, oathbound hero reminiscent of The Mandalorian and the Asian-inspired epic fantasy of She Who Became the Sun. This is a stunning queer novella about a dragon hunter finding home with a dragon queen. So that one is a high fantasy dragon novella, and then the second book we're going to be reading is The Vengeance by Emma Newman, and this is a swashbuckling adventure set in a version of Alexandre Dumas's world haunted by vampires. So this one I believe is going to be a little bit piratey. We're following a pirate captain and there are vampires. This one I believe is a horror fantasy. So both of these fantasy books I am very much anticipating. We are going to go ahead and kick this vlog off, get started reading Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame by Neon Yang. Because this is a novella, I'll probably read it all in one sitting. So I'm gonna go get to reading that one and I will check back in later when I have a reading update. So I did finish Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame by Neon Yang, and I did really enjoy this one. This is a novella that I just think works perfectly for the length. The story was told in a very lyrical fairy tale, folk tale style. Really felt like just a traditional fairy tale, and the way that that writing style worked for this narrative was really effective in novella format. I definitely can see the comparisons to The Mandalorian, and I do think thematically that if you do like The Mandalorian, then you could like this one as well. We are following main character Yeva, and she is a dragon knight. From a very early age, she discovered that she has magical abilities, and she also is very adept at killing dragons. So she is taken from her family home and sent to train to become a dragon knight. And the knights, their purpose is to defend their kingdom and kill dragons. Yeva very quickly rises through the ranks. She's very adept at dragon hunting, and she decides that when she receives the traditional armor of one of the knights, that she is going to never take it off for a number of reasons that are explored in the story, but she decides that she's never taking her armor off, and so she becomes sort of a mythical figure, not just for the fact that she is a dragon slayer and really good at her job, but also the mystery and intrigue behind the knight that never takes off her armor. So she is actually chosen by the ruler of her nation at the beginning of this story to go to a neighboring kingdom and kind of get the lay of the land. This neighboring kingdom is one of the few in the surrounding territories that don't hunt dragons, but they actually revere them, and there have been some rumors that they have dragons and that they're harboring dragons. So of course Yeva is sent to kind of get to the bottom of this, to act as an emissary and also act upon her duties as a dragon knight and slay this dragon if she discovers a dragon on the property, in the palace grounds, or in this land. When she arrives in this land, she discovers very quickly that she has a lot of ties that she was never made aware of to this kingdom of Kwanbo. She was raised like on the very outskirts of her nation, and she actually has a mixed parentage, which is one of the reasons why she feels so much like an outcast when she's training to be a knight. But Yeva is at this kingdom and she starts to learn more about a different way of life, and she starts to get very close to the king of Kwanbo, who is a woman. The kings of Kwanbo, it's a matrilineal line, and these two women become very very entangled in each other as they grow closer, and they start obviously very wary of each other. They come from very different worlds, but as this trip extends longer and longer, Eva has to wonder, even if she does find a dragon on these lands, is killing and conquering dragons really something that she wants to continue to do? So this is, again, a novella, very excellently paced. It really does feel like a fairy tale. Sometimes to its detriment, I feel like there are twists and turns in this story that, like, the twists are not really twists. I feel like as the reader, you read these clues and they're very obviously placed, and you understand what is going on a lot sooner than Eva does. So sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating because she hasn't pieced together all of the pieces that we as the reader have. But I did really enjoy this one. It was very short, very readable. It was a fun dragon fantasy, and I really liked the storytelling style. I think this is one where it would be like a cool story. Like, there's enough world building to support a longer book, but for this particular story of Eva, I think the novella format worked really well. So overall, this book was a very enjoyable time. It comes out May 6th. So if you do like The Mandalorian, if the concept of an armored knight and dragons and that sort of fantasy storytelling really appeals to you, if you like novellas that are told like fairy tales, and if you like a sapphic romance at the center of your fantasy novellas, I think you could really enjoy this one. Also want to point out, once again, this is one of the most beautiful covers that I have seen all year. So this vlog is off to a really great start. The next book we're going to be reading is The Vengeance by Emma Newman, and this is a swashbuckling adventure set in a version of Alexandre Dumas's world haunted by vampires. This is a longer book. It is not a novella, so I will be giving a couple of updates for this one, but I am very excited to dive into it. Vampires, swashbuckling pirates, really intrigued to see where this one's gonna go. So I have some good news and I have some bad news. We'll start with the bad news first. I did finish The Vengeance by Emma Newman, and I did not like this one, unfortunately. So let's talk about it. I planned on doing multiple updates for this one. It's about 380 pages. Usually I do a 50% and then a 100% update. So I was reading this one last night and I was quickly approaching the 50% mark. And at the 50% mark, there were no vampires and there wasn't a lot of paranormal elements whatsoever to the story. So that was already kind of tripping some alarm bells for me, because if you look at the cover, you look at the synopsis, you look at the title of this series called The Vampires of Dumas, you expect some vampires and some paranormal elements. At 50%, you don't have any inclination. If you didn't see the cover and if you didn't read the synopsis, you would have no inclination that this was anything other than a historical fiction. There are no rumors, there are no little hints that anything paranormal in the story is happening. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep reading. I want to get to the paranormal elements, because the vampire piracy of it all was what drew me into this one. I kept reading and I kept reading, and the vampires in this one, there is a small unrelated paranormal thing that happens around the 65% mark that is addressed very quickly in the span of about 3 pages and then resolved, and it's not vampires. And then you get to the 80% mark and you meet what are vampires, but you don't know it yet. The word vampire is not uttered on this one until the 90% mark of this novel, and it is treated like a plot twist or a shocking reveal, which is not the kind of reveal you as the reader are expecting, because you're reading a book in a series called The Vampires of Dumas. So to have that just not be in it at all, and then at the very end act like it is a shocking twist, that's not, I feel like, what people are going to pick this book up wanting. I also feel like this is not marketed as YA. I feel like it really needs to be marketed as YA. Just the the main character, she is 20 years old, but she feels like she has this very like punchy and plucky quality about her that makes her feel like a YA heroine, and just the ways in which, and in a lot of ways, it's a storyline of a fish out of water. Almost think along the lines of Tarzan, even, our main character Morgane, as she's trying to integrate herself into French high society. So we have the piracy at the beginning. The first 20% is really strong, and I did like the 80 to 100%. I thought that was good as well. However, a large pull to me as a reader picking this one up. I was expecting a lot more piracy, a lot more vampires, and I didn't really get a lot of it. So we are following main character Morgane, and she is a member of the ship the Vengeance. It is a pirate ship, and she is on the Vengeance because her mother is the captain of this ship. However, one day when a raid goes horribly wrong and her mother is fatally injured, Morgane learns that this woman is in fact not her mother. Her mother, or who she thought was her mother, stole her from her real parents to keep her safe. And so Morgane goes on a mission to find out her parentage, who she came from, and why the person that she thought was her mother stole her to protect her and keep her safe. So at the beginning of this book, she is a pirate. She's on a pirate ship. I've been looking for a pirate book that has really worked for me. I felt like the beginning of this one was so strong, and then once Morgane leaves the Vengeance, the pirate ship that she is a member of the crew on, and goes to France, things really kind of fall apart from there. The middle of this one is just, it's not fun to get through, and it could be fun. I feel like it could be stronger if it were marketed differently. I would not have picked this one up had, first of all, I just feel like this is a very like YA story with, especially just the character of Morgane feels very much like a plucky shoot first, ask questions later heroine, and just the character development and growth feels like a YA novel, and even the writing style and just like the twists and turns and plot beats feel like YA. So I probably personally wouldn't have picked that one up, but this one, the large majority is this fish out of water story as Morgane is trying to learn. She obviously has the manners of a pirate, and she's trying to integrate into French society because her parents are apparently very rich, very wealthy, and there are a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. So a large part of this book is actually like a very insta-lovey romance also, which comes out of nowhere. I love sapphic representation in books, but this just felt so sudden. And again, it felt more of like a historical fiction girl trying to find herself story rather than a vampire tale. However, the vampire parts, when they're introduced, they are interesting and entertaining, but they're just, I feel like they should have been throughout the novel more. So unfortunately, this was a miss. This is the first book in a series. However, this one does end pretty conclusively at the end. So I don't know if this series is going to follow different characters or if we're going to get a completely different plot for book 2, but I just, unfortunately, this was a miss for me. Not enough pirates, not enough vampires for a book that is portraying itself as a vampire pirate book. So unfortunately, this book just didn't really work for me. However, if you are a fan of YA historical, I think that that is the target audience for this book. So it does come out May 6th. If you are interested in like that pirate, the fish out of water sort of story, and you don't mind that it's not centered around vampires as much as you would maybe initially think based on synopsis, you still could maybe have a fun time checking this one out. It's definitely a fast-paced read, and in the hands of the right reader and the right audience, I think people could really enjoy this one. Now, moving on to the good news, I did get an email that I was approved for another May arc, so we're going to add that into this vlog because it is a book that I'm really excited about. It's another fantasy, so it works great for the theme of this arc's vlog being anticipated fantasy releases, and that would be The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. So this one is a dark academia book. It is Naomi Novik's Scholomance series meets plain bad heroines in this sapphic dark academia fantasy. So looking forward to this one. We are continuing on the vlog with a third book, so I'm gonna go get to reading and I will check back in later with another reading update. So I am now 40% of the way through the Incandescent, and I am really loving this one so far. I love a magical school story, and this one is just such a new perspective for me because we are following a professor instead of a group of students. So we are following Dr. Walden, who is the director of magic at Chetwood Academy, and her job is to keep the students and the academy safe. So she does teach higher level invocation classes to students, and she oversees a lot of the other professors, but a large part of her job is making sure that the barriers between the demonic world and our world remain intact, and that there are no demons encroaching upon the school, because much like the comp title of the Scholomance series, it is a dangerous thing to be a young magician or someone who is gifted with magic. If you have magic, demons are attracted to you. So that is why this school exists, and that is why this school is a hotbed for demons trying to infiltrate the school, because there is such a large concentration of magic users at the school. So that is the setup. We're following Dr. Walden as she is going about her day-to-day as a professor, as an administrator, and as someone who is in charge of a group of very rowdy teens, and they are very highly accomplished. And during an invocation lesson that is very routine, some of her students get some ideas and might be trying to summon things on their own. So now Dr. Walden has to figure out how to prevent that from happening, and not only keep her students safe, but the school safe, and figure out potentially there is an event that happens around the 30% mark of this book that starts unraveling and has bigger consequences for both Dr. Walden in her personal life and then also the school life as well. So I am just really loving this one. It's really working for me. I feel like Emily Tesh must be a teacher or someone who is involved in the school system some way, because some of the comments and the different day-to-days about being a teacher, being an administrator, being in charge of children, like some of those just feel very applicable to the stories and the anecdotes that I have heard from the various teachers in my life. So I am really enjoying it. This cover also super gorgeous, and it is a cover that at first I didn't know how it played into the story, and now it has, and I am just locked in even more. This one is also like the other two books. I didn't realize this, but the theme of this vlog is fantasy new releases that are very sapphic. So I'm enjoying all those aspects. This book is going really well for me, so much so that I just cannot wait to keep reading. So I'm going to go do that, and I will check back in once I've completed this one and give y'all my final review. So I finished the Incandescent and I absolutely loved this one. This is the easiest 5-star that I've given to a fantasy in quite some time. This is a book that just really worked for me. The comparisons to Naomi Novik's Scholomance series is that the magic system and the toll that the magic and darker forces have on magicians, that is similar, where we have a school that is attracting demons or darker forces, but a magician, a young magic wielder, is much safer in the school than they are outside of it. So that's really the main comparisons that I am seeing there. And Plain Bad Heroines is also a comp title, and I don't really know why, but all I know is that I love that one, and now I love this book. So both Plain Bad Heroines and the Incandescent kind of blur the lines of horror, gothic horror, and fantastical paranormal elements. They both also have a slower pace, where some people might want like a faster one. There are definitely scenes in both of these that aren't technically necessary for plot development and the continuation of a forward-moving external plot, but the internal I just loved. Like, this felt, I'm not saying this is cozy fantasy because I don't think it is, but there were parts of this that did feel very cozy to me because we are following Dr. Walden and her day-to-day at this school, and that is really important. Just the little bits and pieces where we're following her heading staff meetings, and we're following her teaching her students, and just different little slice of life aspects of her life. I think that's also a pretty good comparison to that Plain Bad Heroines, where we did have like a slower, more meandering plot and just great character development in here. Following a professor really worked for this one. I liked following Dr. Walden, and I really enjoyed the commentary that this had on like just the school system and the education system a little bit, not even just for magical schools, but schools in our reality as well. And also, even if you have a job and a career that you love and is your passion, also being able to recognize the ways in which that job can take over your life and consume you, and having that healthy work-life balance. So I appreciated that. I loved the character development in this one. This does take place throughout an entire school year. The bulk of it, though, I would say this would be a great autumnal read because we have just like a very historic school, very historical buildings, and just the atmosphere of coming back to school, teaching children in a classroom. I really loved this one. So if you're interested in picking this book up, it comes out May 13th. If you like magical schools, if you like dark academia, if you are interested in any of that and following a professor, you do still get to know several students, which I thought was really nice as well. I loved the dynamic between Walden and her students, but I really loved this one. Really loved this one. It has a gorgeous cover, and just from beginning to end, I just really had a fun time with this one. Even like there were some things toward the end that made me feel very emotional and teary. So I think especially if you like dark academia, or if you are looking for a magical school fantasy, and especially if you know teachers or you are a teacher, I think you could get a lot out of some of the commentary and just some of the character development throughout this one. Is really something special. So far, this is definitely one of my favorite books of the year, which is why I love doing this series so much. So we did read 3 books for this vlog, very different fantasy books. My least favorite is The Vengeance. I still think that there is an audience for this one if you're more interested in historical YA with light paranormal elements. I think you could really get along with this one. And then of course we had Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame, and this one if you like The Mandalorian, if you like dragon fantasy, dragon-centric fantasy, and you are looking for a novella that reads like a folk tale, this one would be the perfect fit for that. And then of course my favorite book, my most recommended out of this whole entire vlog, The Incandescent by Emily Tesh, is going to be one of my favorite books of the year most likely. So that is going to be it for this reading vlog. It was definitely a success. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my content. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!